हेलो एवरीवन। वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल फार्मा मंत्र सिंप्लीफाइड। सो आज का हमारा टॉपिक रहेगा सिग्नल मैनेजमेंट एंड दिस इज आल्सो रिलेटेड टू फार्माकोविजिलेंस। सो आइए सबसे पहले देखते हैं व्हाट आर द कंटेंट्स फॉर द सिग्नल मैनेजमेंट। सो वी हैव टुक दिस फ्रॉम सिग्नल मॉड्यूल 9 ईमा। So as per that module, signal detection is divided into signal detection, validation, analysis, prioritization, recommendation of action, and further tracking of signal. So this is the overall contents for the signal management. So for these contents we will be discussing in this video. जैसा कि आप जानते हैं, to regulate the pharmacovigilance all over the world, we have to have some bodies. So these bodies are like regulatory agencies all over the world. So for India, we have IPC, PVPI, we do have regulatory agency US FDA, we have EMA, we have Avinsa that is for Brazil, and Health Canada for Canada. So आइए देखते हैं what are all these steps required for signal management. So पहला step है signal detection. So first we have to detect something so that we can further work on that detected topic. So then the first topic is signal detection. Now the first part, that is signal detection. For doing signal detection, there may be a two types, two methods. पहली बड़ी organization के लिए, दूसरा to the smaller organization. So more or less for the bigger organization, the method is standardized, that is with the help of statistical parameter. So in that we define some drug event pair for each ICSR, and in that drug event pair, the first there is a drug and another there is an event. So we make a drug event pair for further assessment for each ICSR. One things to be kept in that mind, that duplicate has to be removed from the list so that we can work on the unique set. The statistical parameter used are like PRR, chi-square, and Tij, and these are the fixed parameters used globally for doing a signal detection as far as larger organizations are concerned. So after we apply a statistical tool, there are some values which has to be defined, and which has to be keep in mind as a threshold criteria. So for PRR it is more than 2, for chi-square it's more than 4, and for Tij is more than 2. So this is the standard statistical tool applied all over the world for doing any signal detection activity. After the application of these parameter, we have some signals of disproportionate reporting, that is STR, SDRs, and they are known as statistical alerts. So, and these statistical alerts are unique DE pair. So we do a further assessment on these unique DE pair. And further, there is a requirement of clinical review to have actual signals in due course of signal detection. As far as signal module 9 is concerned, apart from the main population, signal detection is also to be performed for pediatric and geriatric population. So the same way we have to uh, calculate the unique pairs and the STRs for pediatric and geriatric population. The same way we are doing for the general population. And this is as per GVP module 9. And why we are doing this? To have to ascertain the clinical clinically meaningful change in frequency of SDRs and also to assess the fatal outcome for these STRs, and also to ascertain if there is any increase in the intensity or either increase in the frequency of occurrence of these events or STRs. So these are our main motives for doing any signal detection activity, whether it is for a general population or for pediatric or geriatric population. Now moving on to the sources for signal detection. So sources can either be from the clinical trial, from the periodic reports, from the regulatory agencies, recommendation, from the published literatures, and from the company sponsored non-clinical trials. So these makes the additional sources for doing a signal detection activity. Why we need an additional source? So that we can make a signal a more meaningful assessment for a particular signal so that the category for that signal can be upgraded. Now moving on to the second step of signal detection, that is signal validation. So now the signal is detected. The second step is signal validation. So in signal validation step, for each D pair that we have identified through statistical alerts or through statistical application, we deeply review these D pair in terms of seriousness assessment, expectedness assessment, whether these events are known to occur with the existing product as far as assessment from RSI is concerned. We further do a causality assessment if that event is really related to the drug administration. We are using Naranjo algorithm and also WHO causality scale. These are the worldwide accepted scales we can use for doing a causality assessment. And further, if you want an additional video on the causality assessment, please do comment uh, on the video. So I will create then a separate video on causality assessment scale. And also we are doing a validation activity as far as the frequency assessment is concerned. So we do a further assessment on frequencies in during the signal validation step. We also do a causal relationship between drug administration and onset of event. And also if there is no causal relationship identified during signal validation step, then we can say these are non-valid signals. And if in case there is any hint of causal relationship, then we can say these are the valid signal. Moving on to the next step of signal management, that is signal analysis and prioritization. So after the step of signal validation, we do a analysis and prioritization for the valid signal. So non-valid signals are already closed as signal validation step, so there is no need for the further step. But for valid signal, uh, there may be a requirement for the analysis and prioritization. So in this step, we do a further assessment for this valid signal and we finally categorize these on the basis of causal association. So if there is any strong evidence of causal association, however, evidence is insufficient to establish a relationship, then we can say these are potential signal. So for potential signal, there may be a requirement for further evidences. Hence, we monitor potential signals for long. There may be a chance that evidence is sufficient during validation stage. Then we can say during analysis and prioritization stage that these are identified signals. So for identified signal, the evidence is sufficient to establish a causal relationship. So the further action are required for identified signals, which we can discuss later in these slides. There may be an emerging safety issue following validation step. What are emerging safety issues? These are valid signals for which there is a potential major impact on the risk-benefit balance of the medicinal product and or on the patient public health. And this require potential need for prompt regulatory action and communication to patients and healthcare professionals. And these are terms at emerging safety issue. And these should be notified within 3 working days. And finally, there may be a refuted signal following signal validation step. And these are the closed signals for which causal association cannot be established. So this is the overall analysis and prioritization stage. Now there might be some signals which are new, that is they are first time identified in any of these database. So we generally consider these as new as far as the definition is concerned. So for new signals, a cumulative assessment is recommended. Now, after finally during these steps of signal management, we can categorize our signal in either closed signals or open signal. So closed signal can either be refuted signal, identified signals, non-valid signals, while open signal will be the potential risk, that is potential signal. So for valid signals, we also do a SMQ assessment, and this is as per GV Module 9 recommendation that for every valid signal we have to do a standardized meta query assessment, that is to detect even the minor symptoms of a major disease so that we can uh, directly catch the major disease with the help of these minor symptoms. So for this, we do a SMQ assessment for valid signal. So there are some order of priority for signal assessment. That is, emergency safety issue should be on the topmost priority. After ESI, the priority will be for identified signals and then for the potential signal. And also we have some DME list that is available on EMA website. So under that list, there are some important medical events like congenital anomalies, torsades de pointe. So we have to consider these DME list while we are prioritizing our signals and while we are validating our signals. We have to keep that list in our mind while doing a assessment. Now, up to this step, we have detected some of the valid signal. Now, the final step will be recommendation for action. So, what are the action required after detection of valid signal? So, these are the recommendation of action. So, for potential risk, we shall be monitoring and revisiting these potential risks in near future whenever there is an updated information or an additional information. For emerging safety issue, we have to notify these emerging safety issue to the regulatory agencies within 3 working days. And for the identified risk, we have to update our SMPC and RSI. So for update in RSI and SMPC, we do also consider other factor as well, like the strength of association, uh, the amount of available information, the recommendation from PRAC, that is from European Agency, and also other factors. So in last, the tracking part. So we are doing so many activities for signal management. So we have to have a tracking mechanisms as well. So for this, we have to have some trackers that need to be managed and that need to be tracked in order to have a track on the available or detected signals. Thank you for watching my video, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. I will continue to bring more informational and more videos related to pharmacovigilance. Thank you.